Hey everyone, just getting. Oh, I look sloppy. I look sloppy. Let's make sure everything's good to go here. Oh yeah, everything's kicking off. I think hopefully everyone can hear me. I need to get a haircut. Please ignore my hair. Please ignore my hair. Please ignore. Give everyone a second here to get into the live. Maybe I'll drop it out in the TikTok or the all right. I do like this. I'm getting used to my setup. We're doing good. Doing good. All right, I can put this down. Yep. And I can see myself here. Perfect. Why is this so damn big? Anyways. I think based on what I'm seeing there, based on what I'm seeing here, I think we're a go. Fancy. Ah, I'm like a little ghost. I'm like a little ghost. All right, facial recognition. So, today was a bad day, guys. Today was a bad day. So, there's nothing worse than seeing this on your phone. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Will it zoom in? It's red. It's not focusing. Because I have... Wait, I know why. You gotta turn the brightness on your phone. Dum-dum. Does it still not work? Anyways, so I officially lost today $335 on the market. Now, officially lost means it's down. I didn't lose it because I haven't sold it yet. So this is the bad news. This is the bad news. Okay, here's the bad news. As of right now, you can see on the screen we had a rough week. We invested $2,000 this week again. We've got a total of $27,500 in the account. $2,000 is ready to go for Monday, and we're going to talk about what that's going to look like here shortly. And then we're going to open up the second half of the conversation and do some learning and conversations like we did the last time. But this right now is the deepest I've been in the hole so far. The market is very nervous about how things are coming through. Last I read, jobs report came out and it's doing better than kind of what people thought. Now, what I think, if I were to read into it, what I think is what that means is when job market is strong, the chance of rate cuts coming down are going lower and lower. And that scares the market because you're investing for long term, and if the rates don't come down, well, they might get a little nervous and pull back on funding. So, you know what? Investing's for the long play, long-term game, and that's what we're doing here. So, let's get right into it. Where are we at? How are we doing? Okay, so after the purchase on Monday, we talked last Saturday about how our investment income is doing. So, I got this set up here. First crack at $500 now. So, just over $500 for the year now is what the estimated dividends are. $4 in January, $4 in February, $117 in, I suppose I could do this, scroll down so you can see this fun graph. $117 in March, and then repeat. 117, 117, 117. So, what am I doing with this? This is part of my retirement, ultimately. Basically, is if you can get this up high enough to replace your income, then you're there. So that's why I focus on it. Anywho, let's jump back to the account summary for the day. So, total cost basis, you can see right here, $26,064. We do got our $2,000 sitting here waiting for Monday. Let's talk about what we're going to invest in on Monday. And hey, Too Sweet, thanks for coming out. Roxanne, thanks for coming out. Hopefully you guys enjoy us talking about dollars, money, and anything in between. All right. So I've got an Excel open here. So let's talk about where is our money sitting at as of right now for the 26,000. I think it should be popping up here very nicely. That should fit. Maybe I'll zoom out just a fraction. Okay. Anywho. So, column D, again, sum of the goal. Column E, are we over under the sum of the goal? And then we'll talk about that. So, right now, this is how it's set. We've got 2,100 sitting in the S&P 500 Mimic Index. We got 2,000 in the S&P 500 Dividend Index. 1,400 sitting in International. 2,000 sitting in the S&P 500 Growth. 1,300 sitting in bonds. And then total of 16,500 sitting inside of the sectors. They're all pretty close to the number. What you'll notice in this plus minus column here is based on the information that I see here. All of our S&P 500, whether it's growth, blended, or value, or even international, we're sitting fine. Even on the bond index, we're sitting fine. So now the next place to go is the sectors. So that's where and what you're going to notice when it comes down to where am I going to invest. So let's move on over that. Talk about it. So shopping list. What's our shopping list looking like? So here's what the upcoming shopping list is tagged for Monday. Obviously, depending on how Monday opens, sometimes when a Friday is a little crazy, you'll notice that Monday opens up a little bit wild. So we'll see how that information goes through the weekend. So right now, here's the plan. Total shopping list, $1,999. Gonna buy one international. This is honestly because it fit. It fit into the numbers. That's why that's on there, because it was in a plus minus in a good spot. We'll get one communications sector, 3 financial sector, 2 healthcare sector, 1 industrial, 4 in the real estate sector, and 2 in utilities. The good thing is financial, real estate, and utilities, and even international, these are our 3-4 biggest dividend funds that we get involved into from an ETF basis. And that means our 500 we talked about in the start of this live stream is going to go up with this investment. Now, how is our, before this shopping list goes through, how are we sitting? Well, on a retirement basis, we're at 0.61, so we're still a little far. We're still a little far from retirement. We got a long way to go. I'm starting to model out what the 5-year and the 10-year looks like, depending on at what point should I start slowing down the investments. Again, doing $2,000 a week. This will grow really quickly right now. Anywho, so now, next thing I want to talk about is, so that's me sharing my journey along the way. Thanks, Real Sour Peachy. We're moving along. We did take a hit today, and that happens. Today was a bad day financially, but we're looking at it from the long haul, right? So maybe I should. So the next thing I wanted to talk about today, 2K a week is massive. 2K a week is massive. I agree. So I modeled out these 3 different scenarios. So I have a long range model here, hence my financial nerdy side of things. So I'm going to try my best to show you what this is trying to do. But basically, and I can show you the math back here if you really want to see it, if anyone's interested. This is basically what we went through last week, talking about how you start with a value, you add. So like right now I'm adding $8,000 a month. And if I continue at a growth factor at 8%, where is it going to be at the end of month 1? Mind you, it's 8% divided by 12. It's close enough, whatever. Probably should have it a little bit lower than that, but assuming long-term longevity and consistency, this is kind of what it's trying to do. So now, like, this is telling myself, like, and I've got dividends rolling at 2% of the value of the stock. So if I were to look at what am I getting for dividends right now, you take 500. If I took 500 divided by the 25,500 invested, you get to about 2%. So that's right around where I'm getting from a dividend percent. Long term, could I be more involved in dividends? Sure. Could I be less involved in dividends? I don't know, but this is where finance is an ongoing conversation. It is not a one and done, click, move on with life. You have to be ever evolving, rethinking, look at it. How does it fit into your strategy? My strategy might be different than yours. So let's keep going down the list here of what I did and how I created a long-term valuation. So what I did here is I ran this puppy out for 120 months. So I wanted to look at what would this be worth if I did 8,000 this year a month and then dropped it off to 4,000 a month there forward. Well, at 10 years, I would have $1 million in the portfolio and I'd be getting $5,000 a quarter. That's where that would sit. Then I did the same thing for 2K. So everything was like after this year. So like starting after year one, dropped to 4,000. You can see it there. I did the 2,000 one, so I kept the 8,000 a month through the rest of this year and then dropped to 2,000 next year and so forth. So now what does the long range model spit out? So this is just linking into what I just showed you basically. So if I'm at 25 today, I invest 96,000 this year, dividends of 1.6, growth, which is that growth factor, it would end with 128,000 at the end of year one. What would that be for dividends per month? Averaging 134. We would roll into year two at 128,000 and then invest 4,000 a month or 48,000, and then we'd land the year at the end of the year at 192. And so forth. At the end of year four, it's worth 340,000, spitting out 500 dividends per month on average. Mind you, it's quarterly. It really is quarter heavy, meaning dividing it by 12 really is it's really every 3 months that would come in at 1,500. So then I said, okay, well, what if I invest 2,000 a month, but continue year one to do the same thing? So then it would say, okay, now with 2,000 a month, 24,000 for the year, I would be coming out with 167,000 at the end of the year, 210, 257, and the monthly dividend is 400 a month. It's actually not that different than 4K a month. So like if you were to ask me how much would I want to live today versus invest for the future, would I invest 4,000 a month or 2,000? Well, if you're telling me at year four it's the difference of $100 per month in dividends, I might want to enjoy life a little bit right now between the 4 and the 2K. These are the types of conversations that I'm trying to, throw your guys' way to be thinking about. Okay, so now let's go down and let's keep going down this path here. So I'll just scroll down a little bit so you can see it. The 4K, the 4K's disappeared, so let's talk about the 1K now. What would that look like? Well, $12,000 a year, $154,000 at the end of year two, $184,000 at the end of year three, $215,000 at the end of year four, dividends $333 per month. So what does that mean? That's 60 less than the 2,000, and it's 170 less than the 4K. All right, and then let's just say, what if we just say, screw it, I'm done. We're gonna finish this year up, and we're just gonna let this puppy ride. If we did that and we took a step back, what would it look like? Well, we would be walking in at basically $2,700 a year on year two, and then it will slowly grow with the inflation of the stock value. Now, the reason why that happens is dividend yields typically are a percent of the value of the stock. You'll notice that over time, you might hear it, but it really gets paid off based on, say it's like $2 per share or $1 per share, but it's always very close on a yield percent. So you can kind of run that math, boom, 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 all the way out. So at the end of year 4, if I do nothing and I just continue down the path as I am right now, it would spit out a dividend of $276 a month, basically forever. So I could ask myself, is that what I need? Is that where I want to go after 4 years? Now let's keep running that out. Let's say I don't touch it and I keep letting it grow. So we're gonna, I'm gonna freeze the panes here, quick. Oh my God, when you look at it like this, it's so broken. Hold on, let me open this up so I can. No. No! Right there. Okay. All right. Did it freeze? Why didn't it freeze? What in the hell? Sorry, guys. You'd think I know how to use Excel. Now when I do this, okay. It's like, what the hell? What is going on here? I'm so sorry. So what I did is I freeze the panes so that you guys can see it as I scroll across, so you can see the stuff on the left. So here's my 10-year long-range model. So if I did $8,000 a month for the first year and then put it down to $4,000 a month for the next 9 years thereafter, what would that look like? It would end with $1 million paying out $1,600 a month in dividends. That sounds pretty damn nice. The problem is $4K a month is a lot. That's a lot. Is it doable? Yes. Is it a lot? Yes. Because you got to think about, like, what are you giving up for that? Like today, like what could you be experiencing? Could you have a nicer house? Could you have a nicer car? Could you go out to eat more trips? And then you look at it and go, in 10 years, am I really going to enjoy the same level of, you know? So something to think about. $2,000 a month. So half of it, what would it look like? Well, now this is where when you go over 10 years, it starts to show a big difference. So instead of $1,600 a month, it's now $1,000 a month in dividends. And instead of $1 million, it's $664. You can see how fast that starts to drop off. Now $1,000 a month versus 2 goes from 664 value down to just under 500,000. $760 a month in dividends. And then 0% month dividends are at 500 if I do nothing, kind of thing. But I finished the year off with the game plan. So, sorry, you probably can't see that at the end. So these are like, I share this with you because this is the type of stuff I do. I love to do this all the time. It helps me make a decision like, what do I want to do? How do I want to proceed? Now, this is where stuff gets to be interesting, okay? So, how do I want to say this? So let's talk about this in reality today. Let's say you have a lump sum of cash right now. Let's say you've got $100,000 in cash. Because remember how year 1, we're going to end at 100 and then run it forward? So let's say you have $100,000 in cash and you invest in a CD. CD right now is 3.5% on a 5-year. Okay? So that would be worth $350 a month or a year, and monthly you would get that amount, $300. You'd get that basically, you know, damn near indefinitely for a very long period of time. Now, people that were recently running the 5% or more, why is this not formula driven? There we go. So if you were someone that locked in at the 5% CDs, you'd be getting $416 a month. Now look at this on a dividend basis. Just to think about where my mind's about to go. When did we hit $500 a month? We had to invest $240,000 under the current strategy before we even got the same as $100,000 today. So if your goal is cash flow in the short term, CDs are actually kind of appealing, because the question is, what are you trying to supplement your income? So if a CD was at 5%, a lot of people in the last, call it 3 years, have been locking up. I mean, I've got CDs locked up at like 5.6, I think, like 5.6%, somewhere in there, for like periods of time. And like, it's one of those things where I know a lot of people were locking this up for a long period of time. And why are they doing it? Well, if the market is going to be volatile and you want guaranteed cash flow, CDs are one of the best ways to do it in the short term. Long term, it gets its butt kicked, okay? Because what's different is, you might be, well, if this is 416, why would I do what you're doing right now? It's because of the growth factor. So, example, case in point. This top one, if I invest at the same rate, it's worth $1 million when it's all said and done in 10 years, okay? Yes, it pays a dividend of $1,600, but it's worth $1 million. I could pull $100,000 out for the next 10 years. It's going to blow the CD away. So the reason why I'm using this as a reference is because what people do when they retire, you hear, change your 401ks from the market to bonds. Bonds are like CDs. They're very low in risk, and they pay a nice dividend percent. So like, if you were to look at the sector, so I'm going to scroll all the way over to the left here, bonds, 3.4% dividend rate here. So that is pretty darn good. If you had your nest egg locked up in bonds and they were giving you 3.4%, think about what that would be like. So the idea is, as you age, you're like really high in stocks and you start transitioning to bonds. Now, someone might be like, why is the amount of people that tell you that a 401k is a scam, I just want to pull my hair out, because like, these people, think about this. If right now I sell my portfolio, if I sell it and I move it into bonds, what happens? It's a taxable event. I just lost 10, 15, 20%, depending on short-term, long-term, and my tax bracket. Then you lose your state. So when you have a 401k, the beauty in a 401k is you can take it from risky shit to not risky stuff, right? And you don't take a taxable hit. It is not a taxable transaction in that period of time. And speaking of that, I do have some interesting news this year. This is the first year I'm going to, up until 2025, I was an active CPA in 2 states. And I haven't really been in the industry working audit or tax for probably 8 years. So I kept my license up until this year, and now I'm going to go to inactive. So what that means is I don't have to do continuing education anymore. So like, when I talk on tax stuff, it was my life for a very long time. I am not a active licensed CPA anymore. I am inactive. So for those that know me as someone that had that licensure, I am purely a finance person now. So I don't know if I'll ever need it again. But if I do, I just got to go get my CPE back up to 120 hours, and then I will be good. I've got through the 120 right now, but obviously every year forward it will start to go to 0. Anywho, that was a pain. Doing 40 hours a year of CPE was just, it's a lot. It's expensive. I was paying like $1,000 a year just to maintain that damn thing. No more. No more of that. Anyways, okay. So what I'm showing you here on the dividend fund ratio, that's why you hear people switch in their 401ks, or you might get into a fund that today is 80% stocks, 20% bonds, and then over time it starts to gradually switch to like a 60-40. The reason for that is when you get closer to retirement, you're going to want your you don't want like 2020 or 2008 or 2001 to happen in your retirement year when you start pulling. So what happened during those periods of time is people were able to, if they're in bonds, the bonds didn't really drop. In fact, this is one of those things I banged my head against the wall because the writing was on the wall. All of my finance friends were talking about it. During 2020, because 401ks are an example of this, and it hurts because it's a lot of it. It's too much money for me to it makes me want to vomit. So in 2020, a lot of people that I knew in the market were starting to switch their 401ks over to 100% bonds or very close to it. When everything broke in December, January, February, we were talking about it. Well, what am I hearing? Hello? That's weird. I don't know. Something's messing with me. Anyways, I want to make sure I don't have something else hooked up here. Okay. Anyways, we'll get back to it. My previous employer account is charging high maintenance fees and is losing money now. Do you think I should roll into a 401k or similar? Hold on a second with that. So I just want to finish the topic quick on the bonds. So what happened was those individuals, imagine, let's just use a number of 100,000. Let's say you got 100,000, they moved it into bonds, and the market plummets, okay? So the market drops like crazy. Everyone remembers how crazy the stock market was in 2020. April, May, June kind of hit that rock bottom in there. Now you say, okay, it's dropped 20, 30, 40%. Let's get in. Then you take it out of your bonds and move it back into the 80-20 or even 100% stocks. And people that did that, their $100,000 401k turned into $200,000 like that. Like, ugh. It hurts. It hurts because a lot of us were talking about it, and had I just been a little more educated, what's the worst that would have happened? Had I moved everything into bonds and nothing happened, I would have lost like 3-4 months of potential growth factor. Who cares? That's nothing in the grand schemes of what could have been. Like, it just, these are things why it's fun talking with groups of people and seeing what they're doing and so forth. To the people that did it, I watched them. I mean, they were with much bigger 401ks, like $400,000 or $500,000, close to $1 million, and they did this kind of stuff. And like, I'm pretty sure they're flirting with retirement because of it. You know, people made very smart decisions over the last 3-4 years, and kudos to them. Kudos to the people that could stay patient and not get emotional, and they seen the writing on the wall. They seen 2001, they seen 2008, they seen 2018. They seen and were ready for 2020, and they knew what to do. What's kind of scary is we almost went a decade without like anything crazy, and then we went 2018, 2020, and who knows what the next one is. Okay, so Sour Patch, my previous employer account is charging high maintenance fees, and it's losing money. What do you mean by they're charging high maintenance fees? How much you lost today? Well, today was a rough day. So today was a little over half of that. So I think I lost about $330 in the market today. Real sour peachy. So one thing with, I personally keep all my 401ks in the same, like when I went from employer A to employer B, over time, I always rolled my 401k into my new employer. Yeah, that's a tough one, real sour. Like, do you have may I ask, in your current kind of like situation, like me personally, I wouldn't want to have, I don't like having multiple retirement accounts. I've had three major kind of employer funded accounts in my lifetime, and each time I rolled it over. Actually, I had four. Yeah, I've had four total. This isn't my 401k. This is my fun account, Nicola. I personally don't want to bring up my 401k because I don't want to go through that. I'm starting with this. Maybe later in life I'll disclose that kind of stuff, but like, this is my fun account. Every week, Nicola, I invest $2,000 a week right now. Okay, so your current job doesn't. So then, real sour, so here's what I'd recommend. There is, I don't know if you have a 401k traditional or if you have a 401k Roth, but it might be worth going and talking to a bank about rolling your 401k into an IRA. The best person to go talk to would be go chat with a couple banks, see what they've got for availability. Talk to them about your current situation. Hey, I'm getting these kind of fees. How would that look in your world? Too sweet. You're literally just jumping right on the same thing. Same. I love it. So I would highly recommend go talk to a couple different banks, a lot of people do that after employment, because you're right. You get those employer-sponsored accounts. Oh, my God. My wifey. Look at that. Oh, you don't get to see it because of the bread. You know what's funny, Carly?
What?
Because of the green screen,
Yeah.
it's trying to, take the spinach out of the soup.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, so Nicola, basically every week I invest $2,000. So we're in week 13. So next week will be week 14, and I just talk about my adventures as I go down the path, and so you guys can watch as I go along, and you learn from what I learn on this as we go through it. So. I'm from Kenya. How do I get going with trading? Honestly, I don't know Kenya rules with trading. I know absolutely nothing about people outside of America getting involved in trading. So I use Charles Schwab. There's other, Fidelity and things of that nature. I don't know. Can you fund those accounts when you're outside the U.S.? I honestly have no clue. So to Too Sweet's point, one thing I will, so Peachy, one thing, for the love of anything, if you hear anything from what I'm saying, if you roll it into an IRA, just because it's in the IRA does not mean it's going to do anything, okay? You must put it into some type of vehicle, whether it's a CD, whether it's a fund, something. The amount of horror stories I've heard of people saying, I'm putting the max IRA away of $400 or whatever it is nowadays per month. And they're like, it hasn't grown for the last 2-3 years. And you're just like, no! please tell me you're joking. And then they show it, and you're like, oh no. Thanks for stopping by, Roxanne. Ugh. Anywho, I've got a live stream going on with Slots to Be Frank. I need to jump over to that right now. I do appreciate everyone coming out tonight. I do want to maybe I'll go live tomorrow or something. We'll chat some more about how the week's going. But if you're enjoying this finance chat, please hit that subscribe button. And thanks for coming along with me on this journey. It's super fun. I want to get this to become more of a regular conversation. I told myself at least once a week. We hit that goal. Let's see if we can't make it twice a week where we sit down and talk finances. But thank you all for showing up tonight. We had a nice showing.